Mrs. Raymond, how long have you known the defendant, Warren Lockridge?
About 6 months.
Would you tell the court what your relationship was with him at the time of the shooting?
We were friends.
Would it be correct to say that you were extremely intimate friends?
I suppose so.
You only suppose.
We were lovers, Mr. Marley.
Quiet down. Go on, Mr. Marley.
What was your marital status at the time of your affair with Mr. Lockridge?
I was married to David Raymond. I still am, technically. We're getting a divorce.
Would you say that your relationship with the defendant had anything to do with the breakup of your marriage?
Objection. I don't see any relevance to this questioning.
Objection overruled. Go on, counsel.
Once again, did your relationship with the defendant play any part in the ending of your marriage?
No. In fact, Mr. Lockridge and I are no longer even friendly.
Oh, and why is that?
We had a parting of the ways.
Would you tell us why?
Apparently, he lost interest in the relationship and in me.
So it was his decision to end it?
Yes.
How did that make you feel?
Well, it wasn't very flattering.
Were you distraught?
Hardly. I would say mildly aggravated would be a better description.
Only mildly?
I didn't expect it to go on forever. We weren't in love with each other.
So there was no deep attachment at any time on either side?
No. For me, he was not much more than a distraction at a time when I badly needed one. I know that doesn't sound very nice, but it's true.
Which is why you were only mildly annoyed, as you put it, when he broke it off.
Yes.
And yet, I could bring in at least 10 different witnesses right now who would testify that your recent behavior and attitude towards the defendant was anything but mild.
Objection.
In fact, you've been furious at him.
Your Honor, if the counsel wants to question more witnesses, he should bring them in. This is hearsay.
Don't take advantage of the leeway I've given you, counsel.
Ms. Raymond, you said you needed a distraction because things weren't going very well in your life. Were you implying or referring to the problems you were having in your marriage?
Yes, I was lonely. I loved my husband very much, but he was in love with another woman.
So you felt neglected and rejected and you turned to another man?
I object. There's no need for the prosecution to rephrase the witness's statement.
Objection sustained. I'm going to ask you again to refrain from using inflammatory language.
I apologize, Your Honor. I didn't think it was inflammatory language. I thought it was the truth.
Mr. Marley.
Mrs. Raymond, the night after Mason Capwell and Amado Gonzalez were shot, did you come in and claim that you could provide an alibi for the defendant?
You know I did. You've seen the statement I gave to the authorities.
Well, for the benefit of those who have not read your statement, would you please tell us what you said in it?
That Warren and I were together at the time of the shooting.
Together how?
In the apartment.
You mean very much together.
Objection. Inflammatory insinuations. Now, where is this leading?
I can be more specific, Your Honor.
Objection overruled. Instruct the witness to answer, but then move it along, Mr. Marley. We get the point. Mrs. Raymond?
Yes.
I offer Mrs. Raymond's affidavit as prosecution's Exhibit 12.
It may be marked 12.
I'm going to remind you now, Mrs. Raymond, that you're under oath.
I'm aware of that.
Good, because I'm going to ask you a question, and I want you to consider it very carefully before you answer. Were you completely honest in your affidavit in every detail?
Yes.
I think not. I think you lied with the express purpose of providing an alibi for your lover.
Objection. He's attacking his own witness.
Mr. Marley.
Judge Caldwell.
Mr. Marley, I have warned you repeatedly.
Judge Caldwell, I would like permission to treat Mrs. Raymond as a hostile witness.
Motion denied. I'm not convinced at this point that there's a reason for it.
I think the reason will become apparent. During the time that you were distracted by Mr. Lockridge, did you ever write him any letters? Mrs. Raymond.
I may have. Some I may have sent. Most I know I tore up.
Why was that?
Occasionally, when I become sad and confused, I need to write my feelings down on paper. If I mailed a few letters to Warren, they weren't meant for him. They were a journal of sorts, I guess.
Mm-hmm. So you never wrote him a love letter?
Why would I, when I didn't love him?
Well, then, how is it that I'm holding in my hand a letter written by you to the defendant confessing your undying passion for him?
Well, whatever you have there, it isn't from me. I don't even own that kind of stationery. The kind I use is powder blue. It has my initials engraved on top of it. You can ask my husband.
Like these?
Your Honor, I object to the cheap tactics of the prosecution. He's carrying out his own trial here.
I'm simply doing everything I can to get this witness to tell the truth.
Now, I want order in this courtroom. If we can't maintain order, then I will clear this courtroom, and I will hold you both in contempt.
Your Honor, I renew my request to treat Angela Raymond as a hostile witness. There is obviously reason now to consider her one.
Well, I have to admit that I've come around to your side in this issue, Mr. Marley. I'm going to grant your request. Now, introduce those letters and get on with your questioning.
I offer these letters as Prosecutor's Exhibit number 13.
They may be marked 13.
This is the first letter of the batch. It was written before the shooting occurred. Do you recognize it as one you wrote? Would you please read it aloud for the court?
You want me to read it?
They're your words.
My darling Warren.
You'll have to speak up, Mrs. Raymond.
My darling Warren, I left you only a short while ago, but I can still feel your touch on my skin. See your smile that I love so much. Hear your voice whispering to me, I adore you. Every sun is brighter, every sky is... Do I have to go on?
You lied before, didn't you? The truth is you were madly in love with Warren Lockridge.
I was infatuated in the beginning. There are all sorts of feelings. I was hoping it would develop into love. It didn't last very long.
This letter was written after the shooting. It's the last one. Please read the second paragraph.
Luckily for you, it looks as if I won't be called to testify after all. In spite of how you've treated me, I can't make myself tell them the truth about that night, about the shooting. Even though I hate you now, part of me still loves you.
What were you talking about? What is the truth about that night? You said you couldn't tell the truth. What did you mean by that?
Your Honor, the prosecutor wasn't given carte blanche to hound the witness.
I am more concerned that the witness understands at this point that she cannot be made to testify against herself. You might be well advised to consult your own attorney.
What would be the use? Ask me what you need to.
Were you with the defendant, as you claimed, at the time the bullet was fired?
No, I wasn't.
Then what really happened that night?
We were in bed together. But he wasn't really there with me. He was in a mood. He was talking about Mason again. With a lot of bitterness, he kept saying how Mason was getting away with murder. And he got up and he said he wanted something to drink. After a moment or two, I felt that something might be wrong. I knew the rifle was there. So I got up and I ran into the living room. But he wasn't there. And that's when I heard the gunshot from the balcony. And I ran out.
And what did you see when you got there, only seconds after the shot rang out? Warren was standing there, wasn't he? Holding the rifle, still aiming it at the terrace of the Oasis Hotel. You sensed that he was up to no good. That's why you left the bedroom and went to find him. And when you heard the shot, you knew that you were right. You ran out on the balcony, saw your lover with a gun, saw a figure crumpled on the Oasis terrace, and knew that he had done what he had been threatening to do all along. He had tried to kill Mason Capwell. Am I right, Mrs. Raymond? Is that the way it happened?
Yes, that's the way it happened.
Order.
Your Honor, the defendant already acknowledged that he was on the balcony shortly after the shot was fired. He heard the shot also, ran out on the balcony, and picked up the rifle to look through the sights.
The witness has just testified that she was on the balcony seconds after the shot was fired. There was no chance for a phantom sniper to escape. It was Warren Lockridge who fired the gun that wounded one man and killed another.
The only relevant fact here is that she did not see him pull the trigger. All the rest are your embellishments.
Gentlemen, this is not a debate. Mr. Raymond, you will have your opportunity to cross-examine the witness. Mr. Marley, do you have any further questions for the witness?
No, Your Honor, no further questions.
Then I'm going to order a half-hour recess before defense begins cross-examination. I, for one, need it.